Pests are the most rage-inducing part of keeping houseplants, especially when it reaches a full-on infestation. Unfortunately, in most cases, pests can silently affect your plants before you even see the damage. So the best way to help your plants is to take preventative measures in the first place. I want to emphasize that this is not a pest treatment video, but my pest prevention routine. I will leave resources for pest treatment in the description. So the very first thing is when I bring home a new plant, I keep it isolated in quarantine away from my other plants. As tempting as it can be to add it right to your collection, they can carry pests that you can't see. And by putting it right with your collection right away, you're potentially exposing your other plants to pests. I usually keep mine in my bathroom where there's no other plants for 2 to 4 weeks. If you don't have a room without houseplants, you could also put it in like a clear storage container, and that would work too. And during the quarantine period, I monitor for pest damage, pests themselves, and I treat them for pests just in case. So if my plants are in quarantine, I treat them once a week for every week that they're in quarantine. And if it's plants from my existing collection, I do this routine about every month to every other month. One of the best methods for pest prevention is to give your plants a shower. In nature, most pests are knocked off plants during rainfall or eaten by another insect. So by giving your plants a shower and thoroughly spraying the front and backs of every leaf, you would be simulating natural pest control. I always do this on a day my plant needs to be watered, not a designated pest prevention day to avoid overwatering. After the leaves dry off, I spray the leaves with diluted 70% isopropyl alcohol. And again, make sure to get the undersides of the leaves as well as any point or crevice. Alcohol kills pests on contact, and in my opinion, this works just as well than most insecticides or pesticides. Anytime you use alcohol on a plant, you want to do a little test patch on a leaf to make sure it's diluted enough not to cause damage to the foliage. It's also important to let the alcohol completely dry before you put it under light again because it can cause the leaves to burn. And again, I do this once a week for plants in quarantine and every month to every other month for my existing collection. And I know not everybody is comfortable using pesticides, but systemic granules are one of, if not the best way to prevent pests. Systemics work by being taken in through your plant's root system, and when pests ingest parts of your plant, they'll die from consuming the pesticide. Systemic granules are meant to take care of thrips, mealybugs, aphids, scale, and pretty much everything that's not a mite. I use this about every 4 months and just sprinkle it on top of the soil so it gets watered in. Please do not use this on anything that's going to go outside. This stuff does kill bees, so you don't want water runoff, or if you move your plants outside during the warmer seasons, don't use this on those plants. And the next thing I do is to control the fungus gnats. Most houseplants can't tolerate being completely dried out, and fungus gnats love to lay their eggs in moist soil. So I use Mosquito Dunks. One disc is meant to control a pond setting, so a small chunk dissolved in a gallon of water is all you need. They're $10 for a 6-pack, and that lasts quite a while. I usually water my plants every couple of months with the Mosquito Dunks, and again, you only need like a tiny part of each disc. So that's my whole pest prevention routine, but I want to share some other tips that have worked for other people. One is to use diluted neem oil, which does work, and I've used it in the past. I don't use it anymore because I found it leaves residue on the foliage that eventually had to be wiped off later. But it works by suffocating pests, so there's no way they can develop a resistance to it. Another thing people use for pest prevention is insecticidal soaps. These kill on impact like alcohol, but they don't kill eggs. Another thing I haven't tried is beneficial insects. And if you remember at the start of this video, I said that is the other way that pests are naturally taken care of in nature. You can buy predatory insects online that usually come in sachets. And they want to hang out where the food is on the plants so they won't stray too far into your house. Beneficials are great for pest prevention and not so much infestation treatment. It's also important not to use insecticides, pesticides, or alcohol if you use predatory insects. And the last tip for pest prevention is to really hone in on your houseplant care. Sick or unhealthy plants can be a goldmine to certain pests. Stress can weaken a plant's ability to defend itself against pests, and it creates physically weaker plants that are easier to feed on. So really take time to learn your plant's lighting, watering, soil, and fertilizer needs. The better you care for your plants, the better they'll be able to care for themselves. Thank you so much for watching this week's video. Here is your sneak peek into next week's video. And I hope to see you there.